next guest is somebody who's, if you Google him, you get something completely different about him than what he actually does. But he is a tech entrepreneur, somebody who's built a very substantial company in predictive analytics, and somebody who was a pioneer in this space, and these days is busy building his company by buying other companies. So help me welcome today to the ADDA, Atul Jalan, the founder of Manthan. Atul, welcome to the ADDA.
Good morning, Gulati. Absolutely excited. Although this disembodied ADDA is much less preferred than the real ADDA thing, but look, it's been a crazy year, right? So,
we had to move from under the banyan tree to the virtual banyan tree this year, and hopefully we'll go back to our ADDA soon. So, welcome. So, Atul, when you formed a company pretty early, the space which is hot, AI and analytics, and you're keeping busy while the pandemic was on. Tell us about what's happening with Manthan. Where are you?
So look, very quickly speaking, PK, we're right time, right place. I think the world is going through a golden age of artificial intelligence and so on. When I started Manthan, my hypothesis was, which is almost 10 plus years back, my hypothesis was that data analytics and AI would be the last frontier in business computing. But I didn't envisage that time that AI and data is going to is going to fundamentally change our lives. So right time, right place with Manthan, I guess.
And I believe that you're going ahead building the company by buying companies.
Yes, we have done one acquisitions. We are on the cusp of maybe one or two more acquisitions. We think we have a unique opportunity of being global leader in the spaces that we play in. And we have given ourselves 2 to 3 years to get to that podium finish. And somewhere in the horizon is also a public listing.
Okay. So Atul, when we Google somebody like Atul Jalan, what we don't find as much is the entrepreneur who started a deep tech company. What we realize we find is somebody who is actually a storyteller, a poet. Tell me more about this multifaceted Atul Jalan.
I don't know. I've always dabbled in, I guess we all are born storytellers, right? Okay, it's our stories which has brought us to this point. I always believe that one of the distinctive human feature is our facility with our stories, and then our technology, which brings our stories alive. That is why yesterday's mythologies and science fictions becomes today's science realities and science facts. So there's storyteller in each and every one of us. Maybe an entrepreneur, there is a bigger storyteller, and it's our own stories that we are chasing. Poetry is something that I've developed for very long, and I genuinely find it a beautiful experience So I don't think I have. Yeah, it's a beautiful experience.
Would you want to share any one of your latest?
Some other time, PK. I know we have limited time today, so this would take a lot of time on its own. Some other time.
So Atul, you wrote a book which was, in my opinion, kind of a story on ahead of its time, kind of warning people about what we are up to, where man will take us. Tell us about your book, and from the time you wrote the book to now, what has happened? Tell us about that.
Absolutely. So if you look back again, you would see all our progress primarily is based on our facilities with our technology, right? Right from opposable thing, fire, wheel, electricity, telephone, Google, they've all been our inventions that have gone on to reinvent our ways of life. That has what brought, ape like us from down the trees and made it hunter-gatherers, made wheel and fire would have meant domestication of animals. Again, technologies made us farmers. And then wake of industrial revolution, just based on our figuring out the power of steam engine, made us manufacture, and all these fundamentally changed our way of life. So the submission of the book is that we are standing at the cusp of another major rehaul, epochal change, if you will, change almost changing into a different kind of species, if you like. And this time too, our changes is brought to us by technologies, this time by technologies of AI, nanotech, genetic engineering, and quantum computing. And in wake of this change, of course, we turn into a new species and a better species, a more omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent kind of species. But all our social structures, idea of freedom, democracy, money, job, the identity that we associate with it, relationship, love, marriage, sex, God, religion, I think all these edifices, all our social constructs have to be reimagined. And you asked me where it has come. In my book, I had voiced a concern that next 5, 10, 15 years would be of a bit of a chaos, because it's a time of change. And that is what I see reflected. There's almost a civil war going on, right? And when 5 years back, I said, there's almost a civil war going on in the most civilized nations. People thought it was too radical. What happened last week in Washington, you won't find this statement too radical today, would you?
I don't think so. I think it's prescient.
So I think change is good, but change comes with some pain. Think about last major change in wake of Reformation, Renaissance, and other thing. It also created guillotines and French Revolution. So I think next 5, 10, 15 years would be of a bit of disconnect between the inevitable march of change led by technologies and our inertia to change primarily. I think if I was to, I'm very confident, very optimistic, very romantic about our future. I don't think there has been a more romantic age in our 200,000 years of civilizational history, as it were, or of us, our history as this species as we are. Are we and the technologies that we have created has made this the most transformative era. At no other point in time has a rational mind been so optimistic. Every day, no discoveries, new realizations, new inventions. It looks like you're living in a magic realism, a land of Marquis and Hollande would reveal in. But if I was to go back and do few things differently, just go back 10 years, I think before I handed over to powers of social media and internet, maybe I would educate people first. It's an irony. Internet, social media, what was supposed to unite us, what was supposed to usher in the whole paradigm of Vasudev Kutumbakam, has on the contrary made us Kupmanduks, frog in the bells.
That's such a formidable statement.
It's an irony of time that when everything is recorded, everything digitized, everything is super HD, you have an irony of alternate truth, post-truth, fake, deep fake. So it's an irony of our time. And I think it requires a very intelligent, very intense discourse, whether it is around social media usage, the power of social media companies, data privacy, data nationalism, and AI. Technology is amoral. Technology is neutral, right? A knife is a knife. You can cut a salad. You can cut a Gordian knot. If you don't like me enough, you can do something with me as well. But how do we use technology? So the ethics of technology is, I think, requires a very civilized and intelligent discourse and debate.
This is very formidable what you're saying, and I think this is a formidable problem that we have, or at least challenge, I would put it there. And this requires discourse, as you're saying. But you are also doing something positive, which I want to touch upon before we end the ADDA, and that is Thoda Bahut. Thoda Bahut is something which you started as a positive discourse, how technology people could help. Tell us about that.
So look, this whole COVID thing has been a cataclysmic event, right?
Yes.
Nothing even close to it, I think. The three generation, one above me, one, nothing close to this we have seen. And just to think that governments of any country would figure it all, I think would be not a fair expectation, so to say. And Thoda Bahut was driven by the belief that there has to be a local outreach, community outreach. And look, people like you and I are privileged and blessed in many ways. And the idea was if all of us can come together and did our Thoda Bahut, okay, and basically we figured out three clusters which needed support. One was the frontline COVID workers, whether healthcare professionals, the policemen on the beat, and the third is the daily wage earners around us, whether it is the auto rickshaw guy and things like that, right? Can you imagine? I mean, I'm a city boy. I can't imagine my city without those tuk-tuks and without those auto rickshaw guys. They are part of my life. They're part of my life. And we thought that what if we kind of stepped up and shared their pain and so on. And Thoda Bahut was driven by that motivation.
What a multifaceted, personality you are. I think we should have a longer ADDA and a longer conversation just on the formidable part you talked about of how we should teach people before we give them things to use. Atul Jalan, thank you so much for being a part of ADDA today. Thank you for coming and thank you for your time.
Thank you, PK. Enjoyed it.